Hey, do the right thing, Afro Mike. Afro Mike's just about to retire anyway. Um, Edgar sent us a new microphone. I just got to get done setting it all up. Afro Mike's on his way out. Asshole. I am X Gaming, and Fredbear is Louis Wolverine, Mr. Badlands Cat Edition. Rover's here in code Nile. Skook Nasty MB in the halls of hell dines a little demonic gamer. That's good. I like people who take a little extra time to give us that little something extra in their screen name. Krusty Bounds here. Oh, got a notification too. Hey, Demi, good to have you back. Good to feel. I'm glad you're feeling better too. Zurazul says, "I am here, big bald man. King me." Oh, you're gonna take over? Yeah, I think you will take over as stream boss. Also, finally got to see your reaction to Goblin Army scene in Overlord, my favorite scene. Oh, man, that Overlord is just everything about it is great. Zurazul, I love that series. I really do. We were just talking about it again the other day. Came up in the comments, I think, on the. Now, why do we have? Now I'm not. Now I'm not getting audio. When the you guys didn't hear that, did you? When Zurazul's took over as stream boss. Hold on a second, guys. Let me just check my settings. Oh man, come on, Streamlabs. Let's make sure they're doing. I'm just going to my Streamlabs page here. It comes in handy. Then I don't. There's less chance of me missing anything when I get that sound notification. All right, alert box. Okay, test. General settings. Not sure what that one is. All right, I'm going to change that. And then we want super chats. Yeah, the orchestral one is there. Yeah, I think everything is set right. All right, let's just see. Let's see. Zurzel and... God damn it. What now? Now, it... Let me make sure. Let me play something else on my computer for just a moment, guys. Just to make sure that it's not my audio that's screwed up. I'll just play our latest video or something here.
Okay, old people,
it's my audio. Okay.
You go to the grocery store, you will be...
Why am I getting no audio? I can't hear nothing. So you guys... you did hear it. Okay, everybody, I should have looked at that first. I'd ask you. Okay, it's probably, every once in a while, my, headphones just decide to die out. Let me mess with them for a second. Just plug and unplug if I have to. Sometimes that'll do it. Huh, that's weird. I'll get right to the super chats, guys. I just want to see if I can make this work. Let me see if that got... I should have kept that video up so I could see it.
Okay, old people, let me explain.
Oh, still nothing. What the hell's going on? Why am I... shit. Alright, let me turn that. I'm going to unplug it, then replug it back in. See if that does it. What the hell's going on here?
Explain something to you. When you go to the grocery store...
I'm getting nothing. Oh, you guys, it's always got to be something. No, there's nothing else in the line on these, right? And speaking of Edgar, he's the one who sent me these. These have been phenomenal headphones. I don't know why. No, there's no shut off in there anywhere.
Okay, old
And now it's
people,
back.
let me explain something.
Just randomly came back. All right, we're good to go again. I blame Susan. BTG says vaccines and masks are a moral obligation. The fact that such things need to be made law sickens and disgusts me. If only people were more selfless. Okay, I know you'll have me BTG. Anytime the word moral comes into it, I get a little concerned because everybody's specific morality is different. I'm not saying I don't agree with a lot of what you said there, but again, I don't like government. I don't like government basing anything on morality. Now, that's not to say I think that they're wrong with any type of mandates. I just don't want it to be based on the morality of an issue. I want it to be based just in the hardcore public safety where they can prove it's a public safety issue. Zerzol says, also love your taste in my girl, Lupus Regina, 100%. Yeah. Oh, shit, yeah. Lupus Regina, I had almost forgotten about her. God damn, there's been so many great ones in all the different anime you guys have brought to me. Okay, now, the Halls of Hell says, two of my friends had an argument that was stupid and just downright retarded. It was because one felt abandoned by the other because the other had a sleepover, so I told him to stop the pissing match. Yeah, I think that happens, though, all the time in any type of, interpersonal relationships among friends and stuff. Silly shit like that it seems like more often it's the silly shit that tends to be a major obstacle more so than the really big important stuff. Stormstar says, not going to lie, I struggle to breathe with a mask, but the other day I was in the UK equivalent of a shopping mall, and the number of people not social distancing while maskless was uncomfortable. I'm going to give you guys my opinions, but I want everybody to be able to say what they want to say first. I don't want to try and influence things. Lude says, can't stay much today. Popped in to say hello. On topic, though, I'm getting my second shot in a day or two. Fingers crossed I get a second penis, too. I hadn't even thought about that possibility, Lude. I was looking for, that would be a superpower. I was going to say, I was looking for a superpower, when I got my second shot. I never thought about a second penis. But again, those two things go hand in hand because it's penises and hand. So, yeah, that would be considered a superpower. So I guess we are on the same page. Zerzul says, Overlord girls, when crazy and sexy blend, most confused boner of my life. Slick is getting his second shot, or his or her second shot tomorrow. Someone my age, 29, just passed away due to COVID. Yeah, I mean, you got a lot of people who fear the potential long-term ramifications of the vaccination, but my personal stance on that is I fear the potential long-term ramifications of COVID more than the vaccine. Big Green says, my opinions, vaccines good, lockdowns bad, masks meh. We're actually pretty close. We're actually pretty close on things there, Big Green. You guys know I'm a proponent of the vaccine. I couldn't wait to get mine. Lockdowns, I have said all along, I don't think if you're going to go with masks and social distancing, I don't think adding lockdown on top of that, I think the stats would show that it doesn't really do that much more. It's not a significant factor in making things any better. And masks, yeah, for me, it's very, very dependent on circumstance and situation. Fluffy says, Kakashi Sensei always wears a mask. Chinese duck sauce says, to be honest, I would get the vaccine if the manufacturers were held liable and not handing out incentives, which makes it seem like some sort of get in my vein or get candy type of deal. Well, see, I do understand that, though, Chinese duck sauce, about the manufacturers not being able to be held liable. And it's simply because you're talking about they want to vaccinate the world. And here's the problem. Anybody who gets sick after they get the vaccine is going to want to sue the vaccine maker. You can't prove, and we've already gone through this. We've had the scientists involved have had to do several studies on things to determine if the vaccine is creating a certain side effect, because a number of people experience that side effect. And what happens is you find out that it's not happening at any greater rate than it is in normal conditions, whatever the case may be. Let's just throw out and say a breathing difficulty or something. If the supposed side effect of the vaccine isn't happening at any greater percentage than it does in the normal population prior to the vaccines being a thing, you can't blame it on the vaccine, but everybody would be trying to in court. So I do understand why they did that, because guarantee you, everybody who got anything after getting the vaccine would want to sue them. People would be going out, stubbing their toe and or tripping and breaking their toe, and want to blame it on the vaccine because I just got the vaccine. I'm sure it made me a little groggy and loopy, and then I tripped and I broke my toe, and I want $10 million. I mean, we know we have, especially here in America, a litigious, happy society who would want to sue them for everything, looking to cash in. Wolverine says, put on the fist condoms. Let's goosh each other in the face. No homo. Also, it's a boxing match. Hell, Hydra. I didn't hear that, Josh. He said, hey, Curtis, did you hear that the senator of Alabama said it's time to start blaming the unvaccinated people? I didn't catch that one. As far as blaming, I'd have to see the whole quote to really comment on it. I think the vaccine hesitancy did certainly make this, I think the numbers would back it up, made this Delta variant explosion bigger. I think Delta was still going to make its run anyway, but I think the significant number of unvaccinated people we have made it a bigger deal. Chimerieri says, now that the vaccine has been approved, that's true, it just did get FDA approval. Everyone saying that you shouldn't get the vaccine because it's experimental are now saying it's the sign of the devil. Well, some people, I mean, when they say I'm not going to get it because it's not FDA approved, some people are genuine, and maybe this will change their minds. But a big majority of people it was just a reason not to, and they'll move the goalpost now. Mistress says, I think Curtis agreed that people that want to take the vaccine, sure, I did. And people who don't have to. People who scream for force might as well quit because it's not happening. Yeah, the thing that I start to have issue with, though, is now people are saying that they're being forced to take a vaccine if their job requires it. You're not being forced. You don't have to stay in the job. I mean, an employer has a right to do what they feel they need to do to keep their workplace safe, to protect their employees and their customers. And if that's part of it, I mean, that's no different than, I mean, you can be, there are a lot of jobs where you have a certain code of conduct. If you get a DWI, you can be fired from a lot of jobs. This is an independent employer has every right to do that. And again, they're not holding you down, sticking a needle in your arm. They're just saying, if you want to work here, people that work here have to be vaccinated. Excuse me. Unfortunately, because of my cancer treatments, I have to get the vaccine. I would be screwed if I didn't. Oh, Bob, because it what it does to your immune system. Yeah, the cancer treatments damage your autoimmune system. Yeah, that's, well, it could be worse. At least you have the option. You know, you do have the vaccine there to keep it, should you get it, to keep the symptoms down, and it might save your life. Downward says, I know people who think there's nanotechnology in the vaccine and that it's a Depop shot. Yeah. Well, then you get really onto the fringe and it gets scary. I just saw a video of a guy making a scene in a store because people were wearing masks. And the most disturbing part was, as his own son had to carry him out of there because he was being a psychopath, he was screaming, "It's all fake. Why don't you people understand? It's all fake. There is no virus." And it's like, oh, fuck. And that's what we deal with. I mean, that's just stunning. But it shouldn't be. How many flat earthers do we still have running around? Andrew says, I agree that is the case with private business, but public work shouldn't make it mandatory. I think it depends on what sector of public work you're in. It's a tough. So basically you're saying then, if it's a public sector job and the people running, they're just state, federal, whoever employees as well, if the people running that specific branch, that specific office, feel that it's not safe for everyone if some people aren't vaccinated, they shouldn't have the right. I don't know. I mean, if somehow polio made a return, I think that everyone would not allow someone to be a part of their workforce if they didn't get the polio vaccine. I don't know. Rover says people keep saying you can choose not to take the vax, but a choice between coercion and losing all your income is not a choice. And yeah, it is. It still is a choice because it's not coercion. There's no coercion here. You have an employer who's saying that we don't want people on our property working for us that don't have the vaccine, and here are the reasons why. They have that right to do that. They simply do. Then there's no reason that they shouldn't. That's what makes them feel safe for themselves, their employees, and their customers. No mandates, personal choice. Hashiki says, well, we're not talking right now. That's a whole different conversation. Then we get talking about government making mandates. That's different. That's different than an individual operating a private establishment. Lifetree said, I'm sorry, Lifetree. Duh. Little Tree says, I get employers have a right, but if that's the case, then why is it their public restrooms look like that's where everything started? You're not wrong. Yeah, I've been into some Walmart bathrooms and the like where I'm pretty sure there's all kinds of petri dish activity going on in those sinks. And yeah, I know what you're saying. Well, good, Nate. I'm glad you could stay with us. Nate says I was going to the store, but maybe I'll stay here for now. Oh, that's Mistress says that's what I meant earlier, Curtis. Government mandate. Yeah, as much as I think, personally, I believe we would be rid of this or have this under control quicker if everybody got vaccinated. I'm still not for government mandating that. Now, again, they've done the best they can to give people all the details. And some people still just don't want the vaccine. I get nervous whenever you start talking about, and again, I'm somebody who couldn't wait to get vaccinated, but I get nervous anytime you talk about government mandating that you have to get a certain inoculation. And specifically this one, I would feel differently about it if this was a hyper deadly virus. If we're talking about something that's killing 20% of the people that get it, I would say, well, too fucking bad. Then they should be able to stick a needle in your arm to protect everybody else. But given the numbers that go along with COVID, and given the fact that if you do get vaccinated, the odds become much, much, much greater that you won't get seriously ill or die. Given all that, yeah, I'm not comfortable with government saying you have to have it. Wolverine says, if you can't vaccinate because of a medical condition, I get that. But if you say no vaccines because fuck Big Pharma, those people are morons. Well, yeah, I think that's true, Wolverine. With anything that becomes an issue, it's sometimes the impetus that really frustrates us. Like I said, it's one thing, and you'll have some people here saying it, that don't want the vaccine because they just don't trust that there's been enough research done on it, whatever the case may be. Whether I agree with it or not, at least that's valid. But when you don't want to get the vaccine because, like the guy was talking about in the video, because COVID is a hoax and it doesn't exist, then it's like, okay, now you're just a fucking moron. And that's unfortunate that people like that are even out there being able to spread that type of idiocy. Mistress says somehow 20 million people still believe it's a flat earth, right? They can't agree on anything other than it's flat, though. I've noticed that, Mistra, and mainly because of the conversations we've had here, because a bunch of times we brought up the whole flat earth thing, and some of the reading I do during that and in response to those streams, you're right. There's all these individual flat Earth societies who all believe that it is a flat planet, but none of them have the same explanations as to how that operates or functions. You're right. Rosa says, Curtis, I broke my finger on Friday. Oh, that sucks. I've broken my fingers a bunch of times. A part of my proximal phalanges broke off. I'll be going to the hospital again in 3 days. This sucks. I can't handle pain. Oh, that's too bad, Rosa. I'm sorry to hear that. That sucks. Broken fingers are a bitch anyway without actually having a total detachment. Nate says there's over 92% survival. Oh, way over 92% survival, Nate. But there are 4 different types now, and it's so easy to transmit it. It could make more types of it because it seems to bond with other sicknesses. Well, it's not even that so much as there are 4 different types, but and this is just something, again, when I say these things, trust me, they're not things I innately knew. It's just because I read stuff by people way, way smarter than me. But with these coronaviruses and many viruses of this type, one strain will become dominant, and that's what's happened here. Delta is dominant now. You know, the European strain, the UK strain they call it, because that one started in the UK months and months and months ago. All of them have been basically shoved aside. I guess what happens with these viruses is whichever one is the most successful in propagating itself will take over. And we saw that because it was just a few months ago that Delta virus, when they would do the blood tests to get numbers, Delta virus was, 3-4% of the COVID cases we have in America. Now they're like 96, 97%. But those other ones, those other mutations that they know of have not taken hold. They just haven't. They're around, they're here and there, but they can't take hold because Delta is the dominant right now. But you're right. The longer we deal with it, the better the chance becomes that a mutation could come along that could dominate Delta. And who knows what that'll bring to the table. Chrome says, mandating a vaccine that doesn't stop the spread and only lessens the worst symptoms is stupid. I'm fully vaccinated, but I understand what it does. I do worry it'll just help the virus mutate more. Yeah, I agree, Chrome. That's why I'm not for any type of mandate. Again, if we're talking about something that was creating a significant amount of death, and that would be different. But when you add on to it as well that we do have the option to get the vaccine, and we know for a fact that the vaccine takes the chances of you getting seriously ill down to almost nothing, I don't see a reason for government to mandate it. All government can do is what they've been doing, is trying to explain to people why it works, how it was created, what they're seeing in the numbers as far as what it's been able to do, even though you can still get the virus with it. Well, especially Delta. Prior to Delta, there wasn't a lot of people that were vaccinated getting it, but Delta is just so much more easily transmissible. But again, in this current situation, I couldn't support government mandates for it. Anbu says, I live in New Mexico. Yeah, I used to many years ago. And he just got our mask mandate. It's been getting bad. People who have their vaccine have been catching it bad out here. There hasn't been, Anbu, there have been big numbers of people with the vaccine getting it in concentrated areas, but there still are not any big numbers of people that have gotten the vaccine getting seriously ill with it. Oh, we had that sound. That sound confused me. Well, it doesn't take much, but it was just because we had a subscriber and a super chat at the same time. Stormstar says that's why lockdowns would be moot at this point because the virus will always be a thing now, right? But if we lock down every time a new variant comes up, it'll happen all the time. The economy will be fucked. No, you're right, Stormstar. I'm not a supporter of lockdowns. And if you look back at the numbers, I don't see any statistics that would even suggest that, again, going from masks and social distancing to a lockdown has any significant advantage. It doesn't seem like the people in lockdown did any better. So it's ridiculous. Right. You don't continue destroying our economy for something that hasn't even proven to be a particularly effective means of tamping down the virus. Oh, and Andrew's been stream boss. And as I say that, Wolverine says, "King me bromosome." It's coming. As soon as Susan catches up, Wolverine will be king. I think. Susan, over here, right here. Wolverine's supposed to be here now. Susan, hey, Susan. Thank you, Susan. Zurzel says, I remember reading a few virology reports back when this first started. Me too, bunch. That the big danger in the virus was the rate of strain mutation continuing next post, and it would only take a case where I can never pronounce that word, virulence, rate of spread, and severity were both high to make for an unimaginable storm of virus, right? And what really impressed me too, Zurzel, with the in the very early stage of this, with the epidemiologists, was how many of them were spot on about how these coronaviruses will absolutely run in waves, and there's little you can do about it because it's obviously impossible for everybody to stay away from everybody else. You have to have hospitals open. You have to be able to go out and eat. There are services that need to be provided. People have to be able to go out. And what they're saying is with these coronaviruses, as long as that is the case, you can't stop them. You can take the edge off, but you're not going to stop them from doing their own thing, and they've been right. Chimurayuri says, I like how there are religious people who are saying that the vaccine is the son of the devil. I haven't heard that one. Though the Pope himself was saying to get vaccinated. I haven't heard that one. Jesus Christ. Chrome says, we're starting to see some really bad effects from the lockdowns as well now. Well, now, Chrome is in Scotland. And it's interesting to hear because they have been dealing with much, much more severe lockdowns than any place in America. It's weakened kids' immune systems. Usually they have caught a ton of non-deadly viruses by now, strengthening them. And again, that's a common sense thing. You have to worry about that with the hardcore lockdowns. Absolutely, that's a concern. Rosa makes a good point too. Viruses seek to survive. If they're killing their host, they die with it. Many, not all, but many viruses will try to become less fatal and more transmissible. Let's hope this happens with Le COVID. No, I had read that too. Rosa, I'd read that same thing. Yeah. That's in long and short of it is that's why the Delta variant has taken over for just exactly what Rosa laid out there. It's extremely transmissible. It isn't any more deadly, but the more transmissible one is always going to take over. The more effective one will always take over. Masag says, masks and distancing and keep yourself clean is way better than lockdown. Good vaccine is even better. Agreed. And again, like I said, Masag, I think if you look back, and I have, at the numbers, that bears out. The areas, if you look at areas like in California where they went through some seriously hard lockdowns for extended periods of time, they didn't do any better than, for instance, even though they had a big run with this wave, they still haven't done any better than Florida, who didn't do much of anything. What I'm saying is there's just no statistical data that suggests that lockdowns have helped. You can find statistical data that the mass and social distancing may have, but not that the lockdowns did. Excuse me. Chrome says, you lost a chance to get rid of the virus when you didn't stomp down on Chinese immigration during the early days of COVID. Now you have an endemic disease. It's here to stay. You have to stabilize. I agree. I think this is so easily transmissible, though. I don't think we're ever going to completely stop it. An interesting, and I'd like to know what you guys think. What about New Zealand? Now, I believe I'm right. Isn't it New Zealand? Haven't they been trying to get to zero spread? If I'm remembering right, didn't they just have a couple of cases and that put them into hardcore lockdown? Just everybody stops doing everything. Is that going to be effective? Because there's a good chance that COVID in some form will be with us now. And if that's the case, aren't they're either going to cut themselves off from the rest of the world for the rest of time, or they're just delaying the inevitable, right? I'd be curious to see what you guys think about that, because I was reading that and it's like, I don't know if that's actually the way to go or not. Unless they come up with a cure, obviously, then what they were trying to do will bear fruit. Nate says, what do you think about places where people need to get 2 different vaccinations? A good friend had to do that. Now she's trying to get 1 more shot to travel. Enjoy the tip. Thank you, Nate. I haven't heard about that. I can't comment because I haven't heard about that. 2 entirely different vaccines? I haven't heard that. I know obviously of the 2-shot vaccinations, but I can't really say, pal, because I haven't heard about anybody having to do that. Wow. Now there's talk of, not talk, they have already developed a booster for the Pfizer one, but so far it sounds like they're only talking about it for people who have severe autoimmune issues. And they're also trying to determine how long the antibodies from the vaccine remain, and the booster will, obviously, by nature of its name, boost those back up. Kaiser says, I do believe COVID exists. My sister has gotten it. However, I said government mandate is a slippery slope. Yeah, I agree. They kind of prove conspiracy theorists who warn of government enforcement right. Yeah. And again, I mean, we do have to, you have to point out when we talk about a government mandate that it isn't a virus that is highly deadly. And I know people are like, well, you wouldn't say that if it killed somebody. Yeah, I would still say that, because now we have means of trying to protect ourselves with the vaccine. And if you're really scared of it, you can get the vaccine. Almost everything has been laid out now because of this virus to have next to no interaction with others. I mean, you can have all your groceries, you can order them online, pull up and have them put them all in your car for you. There's almost nothing you have to do to expose yourself to risk if you don't want to. So given all that, I don't see how government can really mandate people get vaccinated. Rosa says, my friend in Belgium tried to commit oof because the lockdowns were too much for him. Ooh. Though he admitted that it was just to get attention because he felt deprived due to the lockdowns. Yeah, that's scary. Well, we know that just even in America here, when we had significant parts of the country under lockdown, the number of domestic violence cases escalated dramatically. Suicides went up dramatically. It's tough. That's a tough way for humans to live. It really is. Masag says, having yourself vaccinated with crappy Russian and Chinese vaccines just won't immune any community. Yeah, the what I've been able to read, and of course both Russia and China, you can never trust the actual information that the government supplies. But what I've read is, yeah, both their vaccines they lag well behind the ones that we have in the West, put it that way, significantly. Is the Biden administration doing enough to get COVID under control, in your opinion? JLB says, good question. Now, and I always preface this because there's new people here and they want to know where you stand politically. I definitely lean right. I've always been center. I have too many beliefs that are on both sides, but I lean right. All that said, I don't really know what more the Biden administration could be doing right now. It's not any administration's fault that a lot of people are hesitant about getting the vaccines. Because again, the only thing I could think that they have as an option to do more would be to mandate the vaccines. And as I said, I can't support that. So, whether I approve of Joe Biden's presidency overall or not has nothing to do with it. I don't think you can lay this blame on him. They're doing what they can. And now, if you want to ask me about Afghanistan, then I'll tell you what I think about the Biden administration. Socialists say, the socialists are coming, says the government do not do large meetings or events. Also, the government in Chicago, Lollapalooza was not a super spreader event. Also, no funeral for a community hero due to COVID risks. Oh, it's so inconsistent. You're right. You're right. Socialists are coming. I mean, the inconsistency from all levels of government has been horrific. Zurzul says maybe Biden can grab COVID's shoulders to scare it and whisper in its ear or sniff its hair. Zurzul, he's got to get it by the shoulders and sniff it a little. Chimera says, wait a minute. Trump said in an interview before that COVID was almost gone when he was in office. And I admit to readily, because I base my vote on policy, I voted for Trump. But to be honest, Chimera, we all know you can't trust what Trump says. You just can't. The fact that you can't trust what Trump says, largely because of his giant ego, is also the reason he's not president anymore. Because Biden was a very beatable candidate, but people had just had enough of the ridiculous nature of the way Trump handled some things. But it doesn't, whatever he said, you got to unfortunately take it with a grain of salt. And that's why the Biden administration has pissed me off, because it's like the one thing I thought we'd see in the Biden administration is a departure from that type of thing. But the whole mishandling of the Afghan situation, that and Biden's absolute resolute defiance as far as taking any real responsibility for it is just like, well, that's the Trump playbook right there. It wasn't me. It's somebody else. And I liked in his speech, it was like, well, it's Trump's fault because of the plans he had laid out prior to leaving office. He had a plan in place, and it's the Afghan military's fault because they were pussies and they didn't fight back, and that's it. And then as he's getting ready to leave, he goes, oh, and by the way, the buck stops with me. And then he left. It's like, dude, you fucked up. Now, whether or not you believe, and I don't want to get sidetracked, I know we're talking COVID, but whether or not you believe the military should be, or the U.S. military should be in Afghanistan, notwithstanding, you fucked up this removing of the troops. Just no two ways about it. And you fucked it up dramatically. Oh, Zurzel says, please tell me about your Afghan Biden thoughts. I was already doing that. Yeah, I'm very disgusted by it. I mean, and again, people say, well, we need to be out there. What could he done different? Are you kidding? You don't just fucking pull the troops out with Americans and even more so Afghani American sympathizers there that you know the Taliban is going to kill. I mean, that's a process to pull out of there. You had to do it over a period of time, and this is why you pay these generals. This is why you pay the people who are experts in just such things. The big money is to give you a cohesive plan. You don't just say, oh, well, you know what? I'm not leaving. That's his thing. I'm the fourth president to deal with this. I'm not leaving it for a fifth. Get out. And now we see what happened. It's like, come on. You don't have to know anything. You don't have to know anything about the international community to know that's a stupid idea. Nate says she got one shot of Pfizer and one shot of Moderna, and now she's trying to get a booster of one or the other. Hope when I go this week that they have Pfizer. That's Canada for you. Oh, how long will stream be? I'm not sure, Nate. We'll be on for a little while yet. I've never heard of that. I didn't think you were supposed to mix Pfizer and Moderna, are you? I didn't think they would do that. Unless she got a shot of the Pfizer and then didn't tell whoever was administering it that and then got one of the Moderna. I don't know. I've never heard of that, Nate, of somebody getting a shot of each of them. Hey, Mindless Sand Trooper. Wolverine says, next post. Wolverine says, on a different note, suicidal thoughts are down with my sobriety. Well, that's good. That's good to hear, Wolverine. That's a very healthy, positive thing. Anime Dolphin says, I voted for Biden, but I agree completely. Trump not showing leadership is why I voted against him, and Biden proved that neither of them was a good option. Sad, isn't it, Dolphin? Your last sentence is so true. Yeah, it's fun. My best friend is leans left, just as I lean right. And it's very refreshing because we talk politics all the time, and it's fun to get somebody who has different overall perspectives. It's fun to get their take on things. And he said basically the same thing you did. He's like, what? That was a clusterfuck. And as he said, I was quick to call out the clusterfucks that Trump created, and there were plenty. He said it's entirely hypocritical not to call out this as a clusterfuck because it's really bad. I read today too. I guess there was, and this is what's getting scary. There was some exchange of gunfire outside the gates around the airport, the Kabul airport. And did you guys see that? I should have bookmarked that. That one of the media reports quoting the Taliban leaders saying that as of August 30th, because that was the date Biden gave that he would have everybody out of the country, Americans and the people they wanted to remove from the country would be out, that if they're not gone by the 30th and any forces stay in there, that the Taliban will take action. This could get really bad. The Brown Town says Pelosi's left nipple. I don't want to think about that, dude. Her left nipple is bouncing off her left kneecap. Timothy says last post. Let me find Timothy's post, guys. Oh, he says Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has been threatening school districts with withholding funding if they make masks mandatory. I'm not for that either. I think, well, you guys know that because that encapsulates one of my basic beliefs is that the whole country works better when we allow as much as possible to be legislated on state and local levels. So I think DeSantis, I think all the governors should allow each locality to make their own call on that. Let the people live the way they want to live. I'm not for that. Saying it either way. I don't want a governor saying everybody's got to be masked up, and I don't want a governor saying nobody can be masked up in schools. Let the localities decide. But that's the problems we run into is the ego of politicians in general. They want to be the boss. State level wants to be the boss. Federal level wants to be the boss. And they want to make the rules for everybody. Nate says, one of my good Twitch friends got COVID 2 times and streamed after surviving each and talked about the effect the vaccine had on him. Sad but interesting. Yeah, a lot of people have gotten it a couple times now. But they are saying typically, well, very typically, I guess the numbers are staggering. If you get if you get the virus, if you can go, I'm trying to remember how many they said, like 5-6 months without getting it again, then I guess you're almost super resistant at that point, they're finding. And that's not true of the vaccine. The vaccine has resistance, at least they're saying at least 8 months now. But what I'm saying is it seems when you get it, for whatever reason, the antibodies it creates become more and more capable of taking care of business the longer you go without getting it again, which I thought was kind of interesting. I don't understand why, but I guess they've got significant numbers to back that up. They explain why. It's just they explained it over my head. Excuse me. Lucas says, got to help with the groceries and dinner later on. Oh, okay. P.S. Can't wait for the new Hello Boss reaction. Okay, Lucas, thanks for being in. Masag says, what about localities being ignorant? How is that going to work out? But it's potato, Masag. But at least when you designate more authority to localities, maybe people will start paying more attention to local elections. Because we know that local elections, at least here in America, do shit for turnout. People just don't care. But if you gave them, the local politicians, more, if you gave them more power, I think people would pay more attention. Plus, when you make rules, laws on a local level, then you get honest, real-time responses within your own community. You don't have people from all over the country all fighting about a topic coming from entirely different backgrounds, ways of life, etc. So can there still be bad decisions? Sure, but that's unavoidable no matter who makes the call. But at least let the call be made by the people living in your own community wherever possible. Barry says the back and forth Afghan blame Baron, Trump and Biden is like the South Park episode where President Garrison and the Canadian PM argued over the Canada-U.S. border wall. Yes, yeah. I mean, I'll get again. You guys know that just because I voted for him. I know Trump's a dick, and I have no problem calling him out for things. But this one's not on him. It doesn't matter what plan he had put in place. He's not president anymore. It makes no difference. I mean, Biden, understandable. Has a whole different philosophy on governing. He's ignored everything that Trump put into place wherever he could. This is no different. This was Biden's call. Whatever Trump had put into place before means nothing. And it just kind of frustrated me. I thought we were going to be past that that Trump style of governance where ego doesn't allow you to take responsibility for anything. I've said over and over. If Trump had come out and said and genuinely meant it and said, listen, I screwed up at the beginning of dealing with this coronavirus. I was wrong about saying it was no worse than the flu. At the time, I thought that was the case, and I thought I was doing the best thing by trying to help people not to panic. I was wrong. Now let's fix it. Had he said that, I would bet you he's still president. But his ego will never let him admit to being wrong. He's just going to, dig his heels in deeper. Exactly. Chrome says there was a plan to leave Afghan under Trump. Biden ripped it up literally. He got rid of Trump's withdrawal plan and replaced it with nothing. Well, except pushing it to 9/11. Right. No, you're right, Chrome. That's what I mean. There's no debate there. This one has nothing to do with Trump. This is all Biden. Whether you approve of what was done or don't, it was all Biden. Spagio says McGregor versus Masvidal at welterweight, or do you think Masvidal is just too big for McNugget? Yeah, I think Masvidal is too much. McGregor, I don't know. McGregor's skills aren't to me what they used to be anyway. Spagio, so yeah, I think Masvidal is too much for him. I'm still putting it together. Kaiju said, "How is the anime song playlist for you, Curtis? What ones do you try?" I'm still putting it together. I go back to that video and check comments, and I'm listening to songs and putting ones on that I want. I'll tell you what I got so far. Because I made a specific anime playlist. Let's see, library playlist, anime. So far, I've just put Departure, which is Hunter x Hunter. Her name is Coco. She is local. Angel Beats. Shingeki no Kyojin, Linked Horizon. Konosuba opening. One Piece Pink Saki. And Galactic Mermaid from the Mermaid Sisters. And if you guys haven't heard Galactic Mermaid from the Mermaid Sisters, make sure you do. But I got a bunch more that'll be putting on as I go. Chrome says, "Oh, you didn't see the airport vid?" I have not. I just read about it. The Taliban is butchering people outside the airport. I said, yeah, send me the link if you would, Chrome. I would like to see that. I used to stream on Twitch here or there, Nate, but I don't care for it. I mean, Twitch is just as dysfunctional as YouTube in different ways, but just as dysfunctional. And so I prefer YouTube. Dolphin says, if it wasn't for COVID, I likely would have either not voted at all or voted for Trump. I've never liked Biden, but at least for me, the way Trump handled COVID was unforgivable. I think a lot of people share that sentiment, Dolphin. I really do. I think that would have swung the election. But again, it would never happen. Trunks. I shouldn't call him Trunks. That's insulting. Trump's ego would never let him just admit that he did something wrong. Chrome said, yeah, suicides are getting worse under lockdown in Scotland. I knew someone who works with the trains. People are tomato souping themselves on railways here. That's rough. Yeah, because as we said, over in Scotland where Chrome is, they have had long-lasting, hardcore lockdowns. That's got to be difficult. Big Green says, Mermaid Sisters. That name sounds about as stupid as some old school band names. Oh, Big Green. If you haven't seen, because that comes from Carol and Tuesday. If you haven't seen it, they're so perfect, the Mermaid Sisters. It's so funny. You guys got to listen to that song. If you just put Mermaid Sisters into a YouTube search, I'm sure it'll come right up. Not necessarily, Tyler. He said this can't only be Biden's fault. This has to have had others' approval to have happened. No, it doesn't. Everything ends with the president. Now, I'm not saying it didn't. I'm just saying it doesn't. It does absolutely does not have to. That was a big part of the problem with Trump, is he would get decent advice from his advisors, but he felt he knew better on everything and just do whatever he wanted anyway. No, that's not true. For an action like that, to pull troops out anytime. I mean, he's commander in chief. He can just do that at his own will and whim. Yeah, Big Green, you'll laugh. As soon as you listen to the song, you'll laugh. Heavy Metal Madness says the Taliban are American CIA operatives. That one's a reach. Code says, do you think Biden deserves an impeachment for this? No. I think because of what went on with Trump, that this has become a lot of people in America's solution to everything. Every time a president makes a bad move, a bad decision, or just that even some of the people in the country think is a bad move, it's like, well, let's get rid of him. That's not how it works. That's supposed to be for extreme cases. Was this a bad lapse of judgment by Biden? Absolutely. Could it turn out really horrible? I mean, if we end up, let's just say worst case scenario, okay? Chrome's looking for the link to some of what's going on over there now. But let's just say worst case scenario, firefights do begin to become the norm. Some American soldiers, and again, I'm just playing devil's advocate here, get shot and killed. And we enter a war with the Taliban over there because of this move and it being so poor, then you might have a case to get rid of him for impeachment. But as it stands right now, I don't think so. Spazio says, I went to a different live stream with this screen name and they just called me Spaz. It was a proud moment for me. Proud moment for us too, pal. We like you getting out there with the Spaz moniker. Excuse me. Masag says, that's why you better not have a politician as a commander-in-chief. Leave military stuff to military people. Well, that's the problem, Masag. I don't have a problem with the commander-in-chief not being a military person. What I have a problem with, and this is Trump and Biden, is having people in there, and you're right, this is where it gets sketchy, who don't listen to the military leaders. I mean, that's why you have them there. You don't, Biden, Trump, you don't know shit militarily. You don't. That's why you have people who do know shit militarily. And you should be doing what they said. Now, we'll never know the truth. You guys know that. We'll never know the truth of what went on in conversations prior to this being enacted, this pullout being enacted. But I find it hard to believe that there isn't some truth to some of the rumors that a lot of the military leaders were saying, no, you can't do it this way. It's got to be done, slower and strategically. I just find it hard to believe that didn't happen. Dolphin says, plus, I don't think the Republicans want to deal with Kamala Harris as president if Biden gets impeached. You know what, Dolphin? I would have said that a few months ago. I'm not so sure now. She is so wildly unpopular. I think she would drag the Democratic Party down significantly in the 2022 elections, midterm elections. She is extremely unpopular. Biden's way more popular than her. And we're already seeing, it just came out, the NBC poll. This is already weighing heavily. He was at 60% approval in April, and I think he was 47 now. And more so on the generic 2022 congressional ballot. In April, I don't remember exactly, these numbers are approximate. NBC had the Democrats up by between 11 and 13 points. And now they have the Republicans up by 1. We haven't seen a congressional ballot with Republicans in the lead in a long, long time. And this is all just fallout from what's going on. Delaware says, I retake my throne from the usurper. It's Zerzul. That's right, Zerzul was back in. Delaware is about to take over. Yeah, because nobody cut you off this time, Delaware. There was nobody right in front of you to stop it. Susan and or Streamlabs are taking their own sweet-ass time about making the changes, though. Come on. I should be able to whisk it away. Wow, I have no magical abilities. Oh, especially if I miss. I can't do it, thou Lord. It doesn't pay any attention. It's like everything else. It doesn't pay any attention. Let me use this hand. This is the quality entertainment. Oh, I went the wrong way. Did you guys tune in for during a live stream? Nate's gotta go pee. Yeah, we don't want to interrupt that. Don't be an old guy like me and just do it where you sit. Try bitch slapping the screen. Jeez, Krusty, I was almost there. That was going to be the next step. Misaki says, at this moment it's confirmed the only reason Biden government is made are just not to make Trump's second term. While they've done the job, it seems no more problem in the U.S. I agree with that. I think we all knew that, though. Not a lot of people were super excited about Biden as a candidate. That was an anti-Trump vote that came in. And we'll find out if that's true in the 2022 midterms. That'll tell us a lot about that anyway. Okay, Chrome says, okay, the original video I saw is gone from Twitter. Not surprising. There were bodies on the ground dead. Here's one where you hear fire at least. Okay. I just want to check this out real quick, guys. I'll be right back. Let me just open that in a new window. Yeah, I'm not surprised it's gone. Oh, here we go. Yeah, I would say it's safe to say things are getting pretty fucking crazy. And what's going to happen is somebody is going to get hurt from the Western military, and if that happens, it's going to be yikes. Irene says, sadly, my family's ability to talk about these topics in a respectful way ends after 2 to 3 minutes, so we just avoid it. These streams are always refreshing to hear both sides in a level-headed manner. Yeah, like I say, I enjoy hearing other people's. Like I say, Irene, my best friend, we get together once a week. My wife and I, and him and his wife, and him and I sit and talk either sports and or politics almost the entire evening, and he definitely leans left. But when you have respect for other people's opinions, even if you don't agree with them, it's not that difficult. But you're right. There's a lot of situations where people just can't do it. Or it says, no one expects the Spanish Inquisition. Hold on, I just thought I missed something. Did I? Okay. Heavy Metal Madness says the worst case scenario is to have all the Muslim armies come down through the Tora Bora region to smuggle weapons, drugs. There are so many things that can go really wrong now, Heavy Metal. There really is. Chrome says the one I saw originally was during the day, and the corpses were littered on the ground, and the Muppet in charge thinks the Taliban will help him get people out. Yeah, I'm afraid that, again, there's going to be some fire on American soldiers or an American plane, copter, something like that, and this could spiral out of control in a hurry. Misog says, I'm not a Republican fan, but surely hate Democrats, because under Carter and Biden governments, two countries' futures get ruined. Iran in 79, Afghanistan in 2021. It's been a lot, in fairness, yeah, Misog, there's been a lot of missteps by both sides, especially when it comes to Middle Eastern policy. We tend, I think, as Americans or American leaders, tend to think that they can have a lot more impact over there than they truly can. Oren says, I get a sense that most family arguments just dissolve into little under-breath rants because everyone is trying to pretend to be cooler than they are. But online arguments are so much more eloquent. I think that's true. I think it's tough when it's within a family that you have those types of issues because You're together so much that it just makes for uncomfortable situations. At least on the internet, you can always walk away. Spezio says, yo, what's with these Mexican fighters and their chins? They get dropped and pop right back up. The Diaz brothers and Kelvin Gastelum are good examples. And it was funny too, Spezio. That was always something attributed for years to Irish fighters, boxers, long before MMA. Because it was true. So many of the Irish fighters you could just beat them and beat them and beat them. And they're just like, fuck it. It's just another day. I'm going to have a spot of whiskey after this and everything will be fine. But you're right. It seems like now the Mexican fighters are just such tough bastards. Heavy Metal Man says Joe Biden has been in the game a hell of a lot longer than Donald Trump. Yeah, true. I don't know. That can be a good thing and a bad thing depending on perspective, really. Rick says, question, heavy drinking after the vaccine? Is that a bad idea? Because it might already be too late for me. Come on. Rick, you got to stay with us. I haven't heard anything about that. I don't think there's any necessarily bad mix with that, is there? We need our licks. You can't do anything to take yourself out of our loop here. I've always said that, Big Green. You can pick your friends, but you can't pick your family. Also, I don't know what I just watched, The Mermaid Sisters, but I liked it. Wasn't it cool, Big Green? I love that. I mean, it's even cooler within the framework of the story, but even as a standalone, it's just awesome. Excuse me. Alvin says, I don't fear the fighting Irish. I'm the fighting chipmunk. It wasn't that many years ago, Alvin, if we're talking football anyway, the fighting chipmunks would have beat the fighting Irish. At least we've evolved beyond that. Coach says, I already predicted when Democrats won the White House, a war in the Middle East will eventually happen, but not as bad as this. Another country falls in the hands of barbarians again. Yeah, I don't know. We'll do a stream devoted entirely to Afghanistan to get what everybody thinks, and then I'll expand more. I'm not sure that our presence there was a bad thing. I don't know. It's a tough call. But the only thing I do know for sure is this evacuation of the troops was handled as poorly as it possibly could. It was handled in a way that just looked to exacerbate things. Nate says, can you believe I still get emails saying, get this before you get the vaccine? Or scams or things saying you should skip the vaccine. Thoughts on COVID emails? Yeah, I don't like any of them. Anything like that. I think that's true with anything. Any type of information you receive, you consume, where you don't even know for sure who is the originator of these thoughts should be disregarded immediately. Worst case scenario, Chrome says, is Afghans stabilizing under the Taliban with support of China for the poppy fields. They stabilize enough to expand outward. A stable Middle East under Taliban and China. That would be horrific. You are correct. Yep, you are right. Oh, no worries, Nate. No worries about spelling at all. I understand everything. You're right. Lick says, okay, I'm going to take the chance. If you never tell me again, tell Jack he's a prick. Lick, you're staying with us. John Lundell says, Madara or Hashirama? Great characters, but Hashirama's my favorite character in the whole series, so that's a given. Madara is one of my all-time favorite villains in anime, though. I did see that, Chrome. So did you see Biden's interview where he said, come on, man, that was like 4 to 5 days ago. We're talking about people somersaulting out of planes. It's there's a reason that they're not allowing him to be out front and center taking questions very often. And on the rare occasions he does, we see why they're not allowing it. Masag says, you guys got anti-vaccine scams? We have government officials supporting it, and we can't skip them like an ad. Yeah. Loco says, did you grow up wearing a mask? No, I don't even know anybody of my era that did grow up wearing a mask, to be honest with you, Loco. Pax says the Middle East. What the fuck? The Middle East. What's the Middle East? The Middle East will never be stable. Certainly history would tell us that. Too many different rival cultures / ethnicities and rival Islamic views. Syria basically exploded. Yeah, Pax, it's unfortunate, but it seems to be the case. I mean, how many hundreds of years has it been, you know? And there's been unrest in the Middle East basically forever. I don't, just for the reasons you said. I don't see nobody's going to come in with a Band-Aid and fix that. Kakashi grew up wearing a mask. Good call, Dawar. That's true. All right, guys, I gotta go. Hey, this was a great stream. We'll do a stream dedicated to the whole Afghanistan thing too. That would be interesting, and I'll give you guys more of my thoughts, and I'm interested to see what yours are. But yeah, in short, I guess what we came to here is I'm not for government mandates of vaccines. Not against this. We've got the vaccines. We know what they do. We have the option to get them to mitigate our chances of getting really sick. So while I would encourage anybody to get vaccinated, I am not for government mandating it at all. Individual companies, that's their option. But guys, thanks for this chat. As always, these are so much fun. They're so great. I appreciate all the give and take, everything that you guys bring to these. It really makes my day. And it's Monday. Yes, I know. It's Monday, and Mondays are like, ugh, fucking Monday. But you do have to remember, because I was going to stream on the weekend and wasn't able to either day. So there is a little bit of weekend activity infused in this Monday sticky stuff. So while it is mundane Monday for the most part, if you really want to peek through it, and I know who doesn't want to, really get in there and dig around in the sticky stuff, you'll find some good weekend stuff in there. So here comes Pampu, sticky stuff for you, sticky stuff for you, sticky stuff for you, sticky stuff for you. Get in there, get your fingers in there, get messy, and you'll find some of that good weekend stuff. Because we'll bang, okay, flashy like buggy. And as always, most importantly, weekend or not, it's always awesome. Goosh, 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 goosh. Goosh.